Hello and welcome to Conversations Across the Ditch with myself, Carrie Marie, and the lovely Kellie O'Shea over in Tasmania.
Hi guys, and can I just let you know, guys, I've got a bit of a cold, so I'd like to apologize in advance if I blow my nose throughout this session. Yeah, so hopefully I'm talking clearly and you can hear me. But yeah, it's just that time of year and got a cold.
Hear you loud and clear, lovely. And that's one of the
Thank
beauties of
you.
working with kids, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, they cough all over you. Oh my goodness.
Okay, so today's session, we're having a good discussion about what to talk about. So we've just closed our book club on Unlimited Power by Tony Robinson, which is so powerful. And we thought, let's have a chat about why is it that self-help books are actually really important. Why even go there? And what is it that stops people from actually getting the most out of them? So I don't know about you, Kellie, but I meet plenty of people and I've had friends say to me, look, I've got all of these books. I've read all of these books on spirituality, on personal development, on anxiety and trauma and confidence. Why is it I still feel stuck? So I'd like to speak a bit about that. So the roles of self-help books, how we get the most out of them. And at the very end, we've got a very cool free offer for you. So do stay around to check that out.
Oh, it's phenomenal. So stay around. Yeah.
Definitely. So Kellie, would you like to kick it off? Would you like to share with your experience about why self-help books have been an important
Part of my life.
Effect in your life?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to. I've always been someone who has sought after motivational self-help books. Either the book I've been recommended or the author, and I find that a lot of the time the book doesn't necessarily give me the answer that I think I want, but it guides me on the correct path, and it kind of sets my mindset in direction. And so I do have quite a lot of them on my shelf, and they've kind of all flowed together, and I really enjoy reading them. And like with what we're going to talk about today, that is an essential part of being able to get out of them what I have. So I'm really excited to share that with everyone today.
Beautiful. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
For me too, self-help books were really the start of my own personal journey. When I moved to New Zealand back in 2010, I was actually volunteering, and I was feeling crap. When I feel crap, I like to read, and it happened to be on this particular day on a coffee table, there was this book called The Four Agreements by Don Ruiz. And that was, I've heard of self-help books. I think my mum even may have had some, but I never read them. And this was the first one that I ever picked up and read. I read it from cover to cover the 4 hours that everyone else was out working. And it was a springboard for me. It got me interested. It got me asking questions. I didn't have the answers. It felt like it actually rose more questions, but at the same time, I wasn't really clear on what the questions were. It's kind of like the main one was, what's this absolute truth they keep talking about? That was the main thing I got from that book. What is it that they're talking about? How is it that I need to be perceiving the world that I'm not? And so that really was the start for me in terms of my own growth and learning and about me and the world I live in.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. That was, it's always, like when we pick up our first self-help book, and I mean, for me, my mind was Purpose Driven Life by Rick Warren, and because I think I was on a journey of trying to find out my purpose. And I did, and I'm going to admit, I did pick up the book thinking that it's going to tell me what I need to know. It's got all the answers I need to know. Reading the book, I think, no, and I finished the book and I still really didn't know. But then I was open to the fact that it was guiding me onto the path that I needed to go, and it sent me to the places I needed to go to then keep moving forward. And it's been great.
Yeah, they can open up a door on us, can't they? It's like they
Yeah,
help us thinking
absolutely.
about things a little bit differently. They shed a different light and a different perspective through the author's own experiences sometimes and through the knowledge that they share in the pages. And
Yeah.
I think that's really key is when we pick up, I'm going into it a bit, we're going to share more about how to actually get the most of these, but I want to touch on it briefly now. It's just being open to the possibilities and open to receiving new information is really key, I think, to getting a lot out of these books.
That's it. I think that's definitely the key is being open. Being open is definitely the big key.
Yeah, so I remember when we had, just before we got on the call today, we had a bit of a chat about what we get out of self-help books. Why are they so important? And I think in a way, you think about it, and I've come across this recently, is that actually, as we read a book, we have access to mentors we wouldn't otherwise have. For example, Tony Robbins, a phenomenal coach, you'd have to pay a lot of money now, probably hundreds of thousands of dollars to be coached by. You can pick up a book for like $30, $40, whatever it is in your country, and read it. You have access to his knowledge. And so you've got role models, you've got access to information, thought processes, perspectives that you wouldn't already have that can guide you. And Kellie, you were sharing some bullet points before about your takeaways and how they've helped you to develop.
Absolutely. For me, just in like you said, the bullet points, inspiration, self-education, learning about personal growth and the importance of being open to that and moving forward, always moving forward, understanding my fear and the fact that it may come from the past and it may need to be something that I need to deal with in order to keep moving forward. And I want to emphasize on that is that's another one of the keys is to keep moving forward, no matter what, keep moving forward. Learning to be kinder to myself, love my flaws and all, my quirks, my everything. I think that's really important. Understanding my own needs and putting them first, and also understanding my emotions and how to deal with them and how to acknowledge them. That's something that's huge to me. For a long time, I guess I didn't really understand what that meant. And it's really important to be able to do that. And that's another self-help key, being able to acknowledge and accept and appreciate and your own emotions. Understanding myself in a more positive way and accepting myself for who I am and what I am, what I stand for, my values, everything. And that all that, believe it or not, has come from reading self-help and motivational books. They're keys that I've got out of more than one book.
Yeah, that's an important point too, is that you might only get one little sliver from a book at a time.
Absolutely,
and if we take in just one, if we only get one thing out of that book and it helps us to change, it's worth it. Like I said, from that first book I read, the main thing, I did take more than just that question away, but that was the biggest thing for me. What is absolute truth? It got me curious. It took me on a journey of meditation and yoga and all kinds of things that I wouldn't dare to try otherwise. And I was actually thinking about this. I'm not sure how relevant it is, but I actually studied psychology back in the day, in my college days. I actually did study human behavior and cognitive processes and all that jazz. But it was very intellectual. It was like, it was like an apart from it. What I didn't feel like I couldn't relate to it. I couldn't feel it. It felt so like this is like other people. And I didn't know how to use that information to help myself. It was very clinical and all the rest of it. Whereas I feel like the self-help books help you to make it, it becomes more personable, it becomes more humanized. And so there's also an element of, okay, I understand now why people behave the way they do towards me a little bit more, and why I perhaps behave the way I do towards them a bit more. And yeah, it does open up things a bit more. It made me feel like I wasn't alone, actually. And thinking about that book in particular, I remember I contacted ex-boyfriends in the middle of the night in New Zealand. In England, it would have been fine. And asking for forgiveness.
Yeah.
And I was amazed to actually get responses back saying, I was really hard on you. And I'm really sorry.
Oh.
It was really powerful.
Yeah.
But I did that because I was spurred on by the book.
Yeah.
I forget. It's amazing when you think back,
just
how much we can get out of these things when we take the action. So it brings us
to
So I'd love it if you're ready, Kellie. Should we explore a bit about what are self-help books? We talked about how they've impacted us and the difference they've made in our lives. But what if you've never heard of the word self-help, or it's a whole new thing? What is self-help? What would you like to share? What that?
Oh my goodness! You know, once upon a time, that cliche of a self-help book was like, oh my goodness, she's reading a self-help book. There's something wrong with her or him. But for me, self-help book is one, or a book that is written with the intention to guide you and to give you the tools and the keys that you need. Because one of the things I really want to emphasize is everyone's different, so you're not going to get, you might, but the same thing necessarily out of the same book as the next person, because we're all on different journeys and different purposes, all right? And so that's something that I've learned, I've had people read books and they recommend it to me because they've got XYZ out of it. And I've read the book and I'm like, I didn't get that out of it. But I've learned now to accept that. And so that's definitely important to understand when you pick up a self-help book, is that you don't listen to what someone else has got out of it necessarily as what you're going to get out of it.
Yeah, I love that.
Love
that you're sharing that because, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, that's okay. Because the self-help books help give you the tools and the keys to solving your own personal problems or your own personal issues, your own personal journey. Okay, and then underlining your own. Like my journey, Kerrie's journey. Not everyone's journey. So thank you for letting me share that. Yeah.
And thank you for sharing too. And I'd like to add to that, because I remember when I picked up that book and I turned it to that cover, I listened to 4 Agreements by Donald, I remember looking at the back and thinking, oh, this is a self-help book. Oh, I'm not sure about that. There's a bit of a stigma around it. You're absolutely right. So personal development, self-improvement, those are perhaps better terms to use in a way. I actually deliberately chose self-help for the title of this podcast because of that. Oh, I'm not sure about that in a way.
Yeah.
Because of that, because there is an underlying emotional thing about it. But I feel like it's really important to also acknowledge that it's okay. It's okay. We're all human to help ourselves.
It is. It's okay to be vulnerable. There's another word that has a little bit of a stigma around it. But it's okay, and that's why I love our book club, Kerrie, because we offer that support, don't we? And we allow the vulnerability. We encourage the vulnerability.
Totally.
Yeah.
And we'll share more on that as we get towards the end of the podcast too. So if you're interested, once you've heard what we've got to say about self-help books and why they don't work, we'll give you a way of giving you support through reading a fantastic personal development book. So
yeah.
So some books, like we were just covering, The Unlimited Power by Tony Robbins, which is such a powerful book, and this is like a broad spectrum. So some of these self-help books you can pick up, and they will cover a huge range of problems. He covered personal problems, relationship issues, leadership, business. He had a whole range of tools to help in a range of circumstances, and so he just piles a whole lot of stuff in, and that might suit you in some ways. For some, it might be too much. You might prefer to have a book like Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, where it's still valid for a good range of issues. And again, he covers personal, relationships, business, leadership. But in that, he covers it in a framework, the 7 habits, just something you can apply to your daily life. It takes time, it takes practice, but it provides an ideal framework that you can work towards. On the other hand, you might have a specific issue. Maybe you're dealing with trauma. Maybe you're not confident in certain areas of your life. Maybe you're feeling anxious, in which case a book that deals with that particular problem might be one that you pick up instead. So you might look at something like Susan Jeffers' Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Or you might pick up a book by Brené Brown, which usually talks about vulnerability and strength, coming up, inner strength. So those kind of topics. There's so many out there. I could inundate you with lots of titles, but I just want to give you a few, just to give you an idea of the different flavors of self-help personal development books that are on the shelves out there.
Oh, it's so many, and I thank you for sharing that, because I think that is important for our listeners and our members in our group to know that, sometimes, you get a self-help book or a motivational book and you read it and you get nothing out of it. And that possibly because maybe it's not really where you're headed or what you needed self-help or motivation for. Tony Robbins' Unlimited Power, that was amazing because, like Carrie said, it covered so much, and I just think it's really important that when you are looking for a motivational book or a self-help book, not necessarily, but have a purpose in mind. Okay, I need, like Carrie said, I want to work on myself. And for me, the first book that comes to mind there is Ultimate You by Sharon Pearson. Because that's what that book focuses on. So I think it's really important that you do have a little bit of an idea of where you want to go when you are looking for a motivational self-help book. Because there are so many out there, like Carrie said, there's so many phenomenal books out there. But if you really desire some outcomes or some strategies or some steps in order to move forward in the area that you want or desire or need help in, then have that in mind when you look at the shelves and you look at the books. I think that's really important.
It totally is. So let's have a bit of a chat then on why it is that people don't get what they want out of self-help books. So you mentioned about not having a goal, or rather a goal being really important, so therefore not having a goal, not having an intent. Now, speak from personal experience. A lot of times when I pick up these books, it's like, it's because I want to change, and I'm not specific, or I haven't been specific in an area that I really want to see progress in. And so I'm reading it very generally. I'm not sort of reading it with a filter on, okay, how can I actually solve this particular issue? And what goal is there in here for me? What do I need to take from this right now? Having those sorts of questions in mind is really useful.
Absolutely.
So another thing that I find in terms of why they don't work is that sometimes they're bought with intention. The best of intentions, I want to change, I really want to, and then it goes on the shelf and it's never read.
Yeah,
You ever done that? You're like, you really want to be the change, and you buy it, and then you're like, oh, I don't have time for this. It goes on the shelf. The inner critic, the inner judge, the inner saboteur comes up. And you're like, nah, you don't need to read that just yet. It's all good.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I'm guilty of doing that once upon a time. And, you know, like, I think it's really important also that we learn. I know there's going to be a lot of people that cringe when I say this, but we need to learn to, in a way, destroy the book when we're reading it. You know, like highlight, get a highlighter and highlight words, underline words, bold the pages. You know, and most of my books now have that in them. You know, once upon a time that was frowned upon. Don't ever write in a book. Don't do that. But I found that now that is really important for me, because I can go back and read that highlighted thing and it talks to me again. You know, and sometimes if I'm reading a book and there's an amazing quote, like there's so many of them in Tony Robbins' books, and they connect with me, I will type them out and I will put them on my wall as an affirmation. You know, because I'm connecting with those words. They are connecting with my journey and they're talking to me. And yeah, I think it's really important that we learn to highlight words and things that we get, sentences, phrases that we get out of a book, you know, because they talk to us, and there's something that we may need to go back to at some point. I don't know about you, Carrie. Do you highlight your books?
I'm working on it. For me, it's still in my unknown discomfort zone area. I had it ingrained in me. I do my best even to not bend the spines of books. I'm getting over that. I have to bend the spine now to actually read the books properly and get in there. But yes, highlighting them, I haven't quite managed to do my first highlight in a book yet.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah, really.
We'll work on that one.
I'm going to have to work on that one. I'm going to have to work on that for sure.
Yeah.
Because it does help. It does help. I have picked up, I was given a copy actually of some books, and they have got highlighters in, and they have got notes written in the margin, and it's kind of like, I just haven't managed to do it myself. But I do appreciate when people write their notes in the side. I have to say, it's like, oh, extra insights and things like that. It's like, okay, I can see the benefit of it. I've just got to get out of my comfort zone and do it. So here we are. I'm still learning to do this too, and I know the benefit. I can see it because I've picked up books that people have done this. So
absolutely,
it's a good thing to get into for sure. And so that's part of it too. Get these self-help books coming into that. This leads nicely. Is the fact that they are a way into the unknown. They are a gateway into some things that are unfamiliar to us, that can be scary, because if you're used to having trauma, if you're used to having bad relationships, if you're used to kind of beating up on yourself, and you can't imagine what it would be like to actually not have that. It can be scary to even contemplate, well, if I didn't have that, what would I be having instead? And so our little inner voices can get in the way, and hence the book stays on the shelf. Or we might read it for a bit and then maybe just read the first page of it or two, and then it goes on the shelf. So it's important, I think, to allow ourselves to look at that and be uncomfortable and ask ourselves, well, why am I avoiding that right now? Maybe there's something behind it.
Absolutely. I think there's definitely something to be said for asking yourself that question and making yourself a little bit uncomfortable. You know, because that's a good thing. You know, making yourself just a little bit uncomfortable, a little bit vulnerable to find the answers. I think that's a great question to really ask yourself when you get into that state.
Definitely, I think so. It's certainly been a powerful question for me as I've started to grow and develop. It's like, and giving yourself permission to be uncomfortable, because the magic happens in the unknown, in the unfamiliar. It doesn't happen in the current space that you're in. If it was, you wouldn't be wanting to change it.
Exactly.
And so the other reason, and you may have more, Kellie, that I found that people don't really make these self-help books work for them, and I think that's important to say, because we have to work those books, is that perhaps you're surrounded by negative people, naysayers, people who perhaps say that you can't change, perhaps people who say, well, this is the way life is, this is the way it's always been, it's the way it's always going to be. If you've got people constantly telling you that kind of story, then it doesn't matter how many self-help books you're going to read, if you constantly got that in the back and you believe that, you're not going to make changes.
No, exactly. And that stands on the importance of surrounding yourself with people that support you, people that, you know, are open to the change, that acknowledge the change, you know, that champion you on, you know, that may see you struggle a little bit, but they're not going to say, oh, you know, try again. They might say, keep going, keep doing it, because it's working. I'm seeing the change in you, so keep doing it. And, you know, one of the things that I'm learning through my study of that is calling that our tribe. You know, I've never really looked at it like that, you know, but when you say, you know, you want to surround yourself with that kind of tribe, it sort of makes you all warm and fuzzy. And the thought of being surrounded by people that champion you, that encourage you to keep moving forward. Even if they see you face challenges and setbacks, they're there for you.
Absolutely.
You know, they're going to be your support. Yeah.
Yeah. And another word that I like that people use is community as well, because if you break down the word community, it's common unity. So it's people of like mind. And I find that really interesting. And you can find people who are perhaps on the same journey as you, interested in letting go of their limitations, improving their relationship with themselves, with other people, perhaps their business, perhaps in leadership roles, whatever it is for you. You want to find people who are on the same page, and you might find those in face-to-face seminars. They're still happening in the world where you are because of COVID, but you might find them in seminars. You might find them in people, if you go to the gym, you might find people there at the gym because they're already wanting to improve their bodies. And if you're going to improve your body, the mind is kind of part and parcel of the same thing. They're looking to make positive changes in their life. So you might find people at your local gym if you go there. You might find, you'll definitely find people online. Facebook is a huge resource for finding people who are on this journey. If you do a search for personal development, self-improvement groups, you'll find heaps out there where you can connect with people and make genuine connections. Sometimes we feel like we're quite separate on Facebook. My best friends now are all online. That might sound a bit strange, but that's where I find I have the best connections. I've got people like Kellie here, who's in my corner, she's on my side, we get to do these cool things that I don't have access to where I live right now. It's like, it's incredibly powerful. And it's the human connection that's really important. It's not the touch, I miss touch, and we would be hugging each other, sorry Matt, if we could. Which is awesome, right? Love hugs. But you know, it's more than that. It's the emotional connection that we get when we have people who are there to support us, to validate us for where we're at, whether we're happy, sad, miserable, whether we tried something and it failed miserably, whether we succeeded, it doesn't matter. They're just there for us, accepting us for who we are. So don't get hung up with, oh, it has to be someone I meet in person. It doesn't. You can make these connections when you're in the right places, online too. Yeah.
And there was a word that you used in that beautiful stuff that you were telling us, and it was validate. You know, that's the core of the people that you want to be surrounded by. You want people that validate you for who you are and who you want to be and who you're striving to be.
Yeah.
All right. You know, not people that tell you how to do stuff, or they question what you're doing, or they might put you down, but people that just validate you and accept you for who you are in moving forward in your desires and your dreams and your purpose. And like Carrie said, like Carrie and I have never met face to face, right? But I know that she is someone that validates me. She validates me all the time. And so yeah, when we meet, there's going to be just hours and hours of hugging. But you meet those people because we met in a place where we had interests, same interests, and so that's, yeah, I think validating and finding people that validate and support you is a key element in moving forward in self-help, self-motivation, and in your journey to finding your purpose and your why in life. Yeah, that's really, really important.
Well, if I could just add to that as well, because when I first came across the word validation, I was like, I'm not sure I totally get it. But for me, validation is like, you know what, you're sad. It's okay that you're sad.
Yeah.
You're happy. Great, you're happy. But it's like, it's just saying it's okay to be who you are and where you're at in this moment. Not trying to make it anything different. Not trying to make it better or fix it. It's just like, totally cool.
Absolutely.
With that. That's okay.
Absolutely. And there's so much power in that, isn't there, Carrie?
Yeah.
When someone is not trying to change you, or they're just saying, yeah, I see where you're at, and okay.
There's
so much power in that. Yeah.
It's very simple. And when we can do this for others as well, when we can do it for others, it becomes much easier to do it for ourselves as well. When we do it for ourselves, it's much, much, much easier to do it for other people too. And just acknowledging that, you know what, it's okay that you feel that way.
It's okay.
And from that place, you can then ask if you want, what do you need? But that's part of the self-development and the self-improvement process, and it's really awesome.
It is.
And with other people, find yourself people who you think are a little bit more ahead of you, whatever that looks like to you. Maybe they're a little bit more comfortable with who they are and their identity. Maybe they're more outspoken than you. Maybe whatever it is, but they're just a little bit ahead of where you're at. Because you'll be surprised about where you kind of, not that we say don't compare yourself, but we can't help it. We end up doing that. What you want to find is someone who is, out of the muck of gossip, out of talking about nothing important, who will talk to you about higher quality problems like, how do I do this better? My relationship is, how do I take responsibility for what's going on in my life? I don't really want to. How do I do the scary thing that I don't really want to do? How do I get myself to do that? That's a better quality problem than blaming someone, for instance. So you don't want to hang out with people who blame, shame, and complain. You want to be with those. So find yourself someone who's looking like they've been perhaps doing it a little bit longer than you. That could be a way you measure it. How long have they been doing that for? Are they showing qualities that I want to have, that I feel like I perhaps don't have? Look at it from that point of view. So you're not comparing yourself, well, I'm not as good as that person. It's not about that. It's like, okay, what have they got that I want to step into, that I can learn from? So looking at it from that point of view. So comparing it from that angle, not, they're better than me, I'm crap, and I can't possibly do this. That's not the intention.
Yeah, absolutely. And being curious of how they got to where they are. What are the steps they took? Start up a conversation. What books are they reading? But definitely.
Yeah, I love that too. And if you do go to seminars, there's webinars popping up all the time on Facebook that people run. If you get a chance, reach out to some of the people who are actually facilitating some of these workshops. I remember in Susan Jeffers' book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, she actually recommends this as part of growing your circle of social influence, your friends. and they are
Yeah.
supportive of you. She said, well, if you go to a seminar and you like the person that ran the workshop, go up to them. Start a conversation. If you can't start a conversation, send them an email. Make some contact with them. And tell them what you loved about the workshop. You can start a conversation around that. Maybe you have a question. Maybe you weren't sure about a certain topic or certain area of what they covered. Be interested. People generally want to help people, especially people in this area. It's what lights them up and excites them, and they love it when people reach out and they're generally wanting to change. So do reach out and don't limit yourself to what you think you are, where you are right now, below.
Absolutely.
Reach for the stars.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't allow yourself to hold back from fear of being judged or fear of not being where they are. They're not going to do that because they've been through what you've been through, but they managed to put the skills together, the action steps to get. So like Carrie said, connect with them, find out how they did it. And that's definitely what I've done, in the last couple of years, connecting with people, connecting with Kellie, and I'm able to now put those steps forward and work on things, dreams, outcomes, desires that I want in my life.
Cool. So now that we've got our circle of friends and we know how to approach a book when we've actually got one, it's like, how do we choose? We've talked a little bit about this. Let's get a little bit more clear about it. How do we choose a really good book that's going to take us to the next step or next level of where we want to be, and say whatever it is that you want, because there's so many different areas. You can say your personal relationship with yourself, others, business, leadership, or just some of those, even your health as well. So any of those areas. And so we came up with a few suggestions of how you might approach picking a good book. And the first one of those was, first of all, before I actually even get to the book, you've got to want the change. And what I mean by that, it's not enough to say, oh yeah, I want to change. It's like, yeah, but you have to actually really want to have the result of having that change.
Absolutely.
And then once you're in that space, you'll do anything to get it. And then when it comes to actually picking your book, like we said before, have the goal, purpose, or a question in mind that you want answered. Start with that. And then you can either ask for recommendations, or you can do a search online and see what comes up and see what resonates with you. Amazon's a great resource, actually. If you go on Amazon, you can do a search on Google, go onto Amazon and actually look inside some of the books before you even buy them.
Yeah.
Or pop to your local library. I love libraries, because you're never sure what book to get. Go to a library.
Yeah.
Borrow them. And if you really like the book, but you've run out of time because it's so good and you want to write all the notes in it, then buy the book. At least you've tried it before you bought it.
I love it. Yeah. So Carrie, you said that you have a question that you want to answer, have that email. So should we be having one question, like aiming to answer one question at a time, or should we have an array of questions? And I'm asking you that. I'm like, oh, I just thought of that then.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. It may depend on where you're at. Like, for instance, if you've got lots of questions and you want to have that change in multiple areas, then you know that you're going to want a book that's going to cover a lot of areas. For example, Unlimited Power or 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. You can be asking yourself a question around, okay, do I want a step-by-step process? Or do I want something that's more like a manual? Like, if you want a step-by-step process, again, not that I'm advertising these, but I'm just offering these two just as a contrast. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, or even 4 Agreements, they kind of give you a very solid framework to apply to your life. So if you're wanting structure, you could go for something like that. But if you're wanting more like a manual, something you can pick up and go, okay, I've got this coming up and I want a tool that will help me with that, Unlimited Power might be more useful. So having an array of questions could be really beneficial, because it might actually get you to be more specific about, okay, what book's going to help me with this issue and answered this particular problem.
Cool. Thank you for that.
Thank you. I hope that was useful.
No, that's a good thing to know. I love that. And I love how that you also talked about, depending on how you learn or how you want to learn. Do you want a manual? Do you want to, do you want to dive into it as if you are, learning and teaching it to other people? So you're the steps, so I really love that. And that is definitely a good way of choosing a book.
Yeah. And and I love that actually, because what you were sharing there, like we've talked about actually going through the book, studying it, pulling it up, almost pulling it apart, not quite, but doing the highlighter, writing your notes in it, not being afraid to use it like it's something that you almost live in, that you put your thoughts into, and using it almost like almost as much as a journal as it is a resource.
Yeah.
And so with that as well, as you're really diving deep into the material, thinking about, okay, if I had to share this with somebody, how would I approach learning it? How would I approach reading this material so that I get as much out of it as I can, so that I can actually talk about it to someone else in the next 24 to 48 hours? Because when you do that, you do approach it a whole lot differently than you do if you're just reading it for entertainment. You're just glancing over it going, yeah, okay, cool, nice, until tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so when you're, I'm throwing all these questions at you, Carrie. When you're, finding a book, is it a journey that you do on your own? Or is it a journey that you do with someone else? Or is it a journey that you do with a group of people? What has worked for you? Yeah.
Well, I sorted it out with just doing it on my own. And I found that actually, for the most part, I would pick them up, I'd read them, and I'd actually struggle with them, to be honest with you. I'd find if they asked me questions, I wouldn't really be able to answer them. I found that I didn't really go deep enough into material because at that point, and I'm relating to when I first started my journey, I didn't really know how to share the information. I didn't know how to apply it, and some of the questions that were asked didn't resonate with me at all. A lot of questions, think about Four Agreements, I actually bought the companion book of that. I remember some of the questions they're asking me were like about my childhood. But you see, I didn't have a traumatic childhood as such. Like, I didn't get beaten up, I didn't have particularly nasty parents or anything like that. But you see, I had such a strong inner judge. I like to call it the tyrant, so a really powerful inner voice, that for any little thing that I did wrong, I beat myself up really badly. And so I didn't want to remember some of those aspects. So anything that asked me about my past, anything that asked me about childhood, I couldn't remember. I blocked it all out. So so I found it really hard. I found that for me, I need people around me. I need people I can really talk to about what I'm reading. And ideally, people are willing to also be on that journey a little bit with me as well, because then it makes it more relatable. And I can sort of say, oh, I'm trying this out, but I'm not quite getting it. And sometimes it's an understanding thing. I might just not quite understood it from my frame of reference, but someone else has a different way of looking at it. It's like, oh, okay, I didn't think of it that way. And it still might not quite click. But the third time or the fourth time I hear something on a similar subject, it kind of starts getting in there. And that's part of the process too. It can take 7 or more times, especially now, because we're inundated with information all the time. It takes a lot more times for us to get the information that we need, to get that aha light bulb happening. Not saying that's everyone, but it seems to be a general thing across the board. That's what I'm hearing now.
Yeah.
How about you, Kellie?
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. No, thank you for sharing that. And I agree. I think that sharing it's more fun. And having, I think we refer to it as an accountability partner. Someone who who knows your desires and your dreams, and they're gonna hold you on that level, not because they want to just hold you there, but because they know that's what you want. So they're gonna make sure that you stay there, okay, and not give up because it's too hard or whatever. They're gonna remind you, hey, remember that conversation? And you told me that you wanted to learn how to skydive. Okay, so don't give up now because that was something that you really wanted to do, remember? So they're keeping you accountable. And that I haven't always been someone who has done things with other people. I've kind of been a little bit of a loner through my life, and I was okay with that. And then on this part of my journey, I really realized how important it is to be surrounded by people who support you, people that keep you accountable, people that share your desires, people that want to listen to you, people that cheer you on, that validate you. And so now I'm urging to surround myself with people. I don't want to be on my own anymore. I mean, okay, I still like my alone time, but I love being surrounded by those kind of people more now.
Yeah, it's so powerful. I found the same thing, and in a way, what you've said really resonates with me because I was a loner for a very long time,
Yeah,
especially at school. I didn't trust people. I didn't have very little trust in others. I just figured, well, I'm safer just being on my own. And when it came to personal relationships too, I was like, nah, you know what? That really hurt. No, I'm better off on my own. I don't need
yeah,
anyone else. I'm all good. But there's power when we actually let go of that and start trusting. It comes out a little bit from actually trusting ourselves more as well, like building that up with ourselves also helps us, and that comes through learning. But then when we're trusting ourselves more, we can also be more open to trusting others more
absolutely,
and developing that.
absolutely.
It's a really awesome journey to be on, and I'm super stoked. That's how you make the best friendships, right?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Like, if someone had told me that I'd have this amazing friendship with you across the sea, I'd have been like,
I know.
wow, what? I was
I
online.
know,
How do you have a
right?
good friendship with someone who's online? Me doing
Exactly.
podcasts, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
That sounds really
No.
scary. No.
No.
But when you find someone that really resonates, the magic happens. But it
It
didn't.
does, doesn't it?
Yeah, totally. And I love the conversations that we have, and I trust that those of you who are listening are getting benefit out of it too, because we learn heaps from it.
Yeah. I do, and I think those that are listening and those that see us on our book page can see and hear the friendship between us. The support. It's there. You can hear it. We support each other. We validate each other, and it's really important to want and desire to have that in your life. And because like with everything that we have learned through the two books that we've done, Ultimate You and Unlimited Power, that it's really, really, really important to take ownership and take action yourself. Don't wait for anyone else. Like if I had waited for this friendship, Carrie, to manifest itself, I don't know. We took the steps, and it's been wonderful.
It has. I agree. And things can naturally develop when you have a good friendship too. So I
Yeah,
think I wish everyone to have a beautiful friendship like what we have. It's awesome. It really is. Blows my
it
mind.
is. It is. It's good. It's good. And so, if I could just, pose a question, like if you were to keep surrounding yourself with people who don't want you to change, people that really don't support any kind of change that you're making in your life, that question the choices that you make, where are you going to be in a year time if you keep surrounding yourself with these kind of people? I think that's a powerful question that we need to ask ourselves. Are these the people that are helping us get to where we want to go. You know, it's not necessarily that they're mean people, but they're just not people that are on the journey that you're on. Okay. And yeah, you know, and I've asked myself that question a lot. And you know, I've kind of ended a few friendships, you know, but that's a choice I've made in order for me to move forward. But then what if you surrounded yourself with people who championed you, who validated you, who encouraged you and inspired you to move forward in your dreams, in your purpose, to pick up that book, to highlight the book, to write in the book. Carrie, I'm going to get you to highlight in the book. You know, where these people, and they just, you know, they were there for you, and they championed you to keep going towards your dreams and your desires. Oh my goodness, where would you be in a year? Oh my goodness. Oh, it's amazing. I mean,
It's a
think
great
about
question.
that.
Such a
It
powerful
is.
question.
Yeah. You know, and it's just, oh, and they're great questions to ask yourself.
Definitely. And if you're sitting there and you're thinking, well, actually, I don't have much support in my network right now.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm not sure where to start to look on Facebook or in my local area. If you haven't already, would like to invite you to come and join our book club, the Empowering You Book Club, which is all about empowering you, all about supporting you, encouraging you, celebrating you through your successes, through your failures. And that's the most important part, through the failures, because we love failures, actually, because when you fail, it means you've tried. It means you've given a shit about you and other people. So excuse my language, but I feel quite strongly about that. I don't often swear, but when I do, it's because I'm really passionate about something. So it's because you've actually really given, you actually really care about yourself.
Yeah,
you've actually made a decision to try something new and been brave enough to share the fact, you know what, you're human. Yeah. That's all a failure means. And it's not even a failure, it's a learning opportunity. It just means it didn't go quite as you expected, and you're human.
Absolutely.
First time. Well, awesome. I'm grateful because, hey, we're humans too.
Yeah.
No androids allowed.
Well, that's it, you know, and I don't know, I don't know if anyone's actually not failed at the first time. I promised you I wouldn't go there, but I have to go there. You know, there's one person in history. I'm sorry, Carrie. One person in history.
It might be the first time people have heard this. Go for it.
I know. Okay, so Thomas Edison. Oh my goodness. You know, created the light bulb, but you know, 999 times he failed. You know, well, he looked at it, and his friends and his family looked at it like, oh my goodness, he failed again. But he's like, no, I'm going to do it one more time. And people were questioning him. You're going to do it one more time, so you're going to fail like 10,000 times. You really want to have that legacy behind you? And then his answer to that, and seriously, that's up on my wall. It's just amazing. He's like, no, I didn't fail 999 times. I worked out 999 ways not to make the light bulb. So he was looking at it as 999 successes in not doing it. So he's found those many ways. So people are never going to do it that way, because I found out for them how not to do it. And that's just gold. That's gold. I love it.
Absolutely, it's so powerful. And that's one of the reasons we created the book club, actually, is to save the failures, to save those self-help books, self-improvement books, gathering dust on the shelves. Because we know it's challenging to do it on your own. Sometimes it's challenging to even just keep up a routine of reading the books, because it's hard. You've got your mental chatter going on in the background, asking you, well, what's the point? You know, it's not going to work, blah, blah, blah. Especially if you've got that going on, because I had that going on quite a bit for me, especially when I was reading other books. And I'd read a bit and then I'd forget about them. It's kind of like, what happened there? And I think, honestly, sometimes it's the mental chatter getting in the way. It was scared. It didn't want me to change. It wanted me to be stuck. So if that's you, if that resonates with you, I really highly recommend finding yourself a group where it resonates. And maybe our group isn't the right one for you. Maybe it is. But come along, check it out. See what you think. If it's not, cool. Find there are plenty out there. There'll be someone out there, some people out there that will be covering a book that resonates with you, who have a vibe that you gel with. So please, I invite you to go and have a look and come check us out. You'll find us at facebook.com/groups/empowering you book club. And as part of the group, there's no charge for this, by the way. It does take a lot of time for us to do it, but we love it and we're passionate about seeing people transform. So what we do is we actually read the books, so you have access to audios. We try and keep them short to like 10-15 minutes for each audio. We distribute them out so it's easy, really easy for you to keep on top of them, giving you activities, workbooks, helping you break down the gold in those books. Like Kellie says, you want to be going in there, studying it, taking it apart. We help you with that. We actually start the process for you, asking yourself, adding powerful questions to the material that you're reading to help you through it, because sometimes if the author doesn't say it in quite the right way, sometimes an alternative way or phrase can help open up another door. So we help give you some of that too. Kellie writes the most beautiful inspirational posts as well, so inspire you on the journey. And of course, we have the community itself, and you can reach out to others in the group who are on the same journey as you, exactly the same journey, because you're reading the same book. Then going to understand the concepts that you're sharing with them. For example, in Tony Robbins' book, we talked about reframing. If when you're on the same chat, what reframing is. You can have a chat about it. It's not, it's not like you're going to someone else in the street or in your family going, "Hey, I want to try this technique out called reframing." They'll understand about it. You can share your ideas around it. You can see if you've missed anything, if they've missed anything. You'll be surprised at how much you can expand on each other's knowledge. And I found that between Kellie and I too, when we shared our journey with the Ultimate You, we've expanded our knowledge about it, about emotional healing and healing our past, because being humans, we don't take in all the information all of the time. We can take in small amounts, and we'll take in the bits that resonate, fit with us in that moment. There's always more that we can get access to. And of course,
absolutely.
And you've got access to us. You can reach out with questions. You can set yourself up with an accountability buddy or group as well. And we're looking at adding more, but that's where we're stopping right now. But even with all of that, you get, it's amazing, isn't it?
It is.
And I know that you get in our group, I know, Kellie, you actually know some of the people face to face that you've invited in the group, and I know that they've said some amazing things about what they're getting out of what they're learning. Would you like to share a little bit about that just before we wrap up?
Absolutely. Yeah, I've talked to a couple of people, and just the opportunity to kind of be vulnerable, to allow themselves to be vulnerable and know that they're not being judged, and that, like Carrie mentioned before, they're sharing their thoughts, and there might be someone else in the group who actually didn't see that part of the book. They didn't connect with that part. So for me, I read some books 4 or 5 times and get something out of it. So I think how many we have, like 50, 59 people in the group. So think of it this way, like if we're all sharing what we get out of the book, you're reading that book 59 times, and so you're getting 59 quality, amazing things out of that book by being part of the book club and sharing. And that's just phenomenal gold, and that's what I love about this book club. And that is what a lot of people that I'm talking to loving about this, is the fact that there's also no pressure in in sharing if you don't want to, but they're loving reading what other people want, you know, because some people they're shy, and they need to work on that vulnerability, and that's okay, because it's a place that allows you to do that. There's no expectation. You know, Kerrie and I are not, you know, like grading you or telling you off. You know, we're guiding you and we're there for you. We're championing you there every day, every step, every post, every time that Kerrie puts up a recording, every time that I put up a post. We are being there for you. We are championing you on by allowing you and giving you what we know, and asking the questions in a way that we know and understand are going to help you get the most out of it, this journey. That's why I love the group.
I love how you shared that. Yeah. And I love that people are getting so much out of being in the group, and being able to share in a safe space and feel that safety, and feel that it's, you know, it's okay. Actually, it's okay to be where they're at. And so actually we've talked about a bit about before that, you know, you can reach out to facilitators for support as well, and to meet people who are a little bit further ahead of you on the journey. So with that in mind, this is our cool offer. Would you like to get on a call with us for 30 minutes? Totally complimentary, no sales. It's just us having a chat about you and your goals, where you want to head. And it might be a case of, you know, maybe your next step is to join the group. Maybe it's a recommendation for some other books that you can start on. Maybe it's something else. Who knows? But we're here. We'd love to have a chat with you. And so it's 30 minutes, and the link we'll post in the description, but I'll say it here as well in case you're on the move. It's selfnurture.org/empowering you. So selfnurture, all one word, .org/empowering you. And you go on there, we've got both of our calendars on. You just click on whether you want a coffee chat with Kellie, or you can have grab yourself a cup of tea and come and have a tea chat with me. Of course, you can grab a coffee as well if you really want to. Can even grab hot chocolates. I love hot chocolates. And come and join us. Yeah.
Absolutely, you know, and these calls, there's no expectation. You know, we're not going to have a checklist in front of us. These calls are going to be all about you. We want to know about you, you know, and we want to see if joining our group is a fit for you, if it's going to help you on your journey. And I love these calls. I love learning about people, and I love sharing my insight. I love hearing their insight. So I'm really eager that we're gonna get some calls, because I love coffee chats.
Same. So say grab it. We're only offering 10 to the first 10 people who actually apply on this call. So they are limited because time is precious. So do grab a seat or grab a chat. And we look forward to hearing from you. So we'll just basically discuss your next moves, whatever that looks like for you, and provide you with some recommendations on your next steps to help you keep going forward in the area of life that you would really like to see some change in.
Absolutely. Oh, how exciting.
I think so. I can't wait to meet you. Have a beautiful day wherever you are in the world, and thank you so much for listening. And
absolutely,
I look forward to hearing. Actually, what we would love is to hear about what your next book is going to be.
Ooh,
if you know,
absolutely.
if you don't know, that's cool. So get on the call with us. We'll help you figure it out.
Absolutely,
you can recommend.
Absolutely, and even if there's a book that you have read that you have really connected with, share that with us as well. You know, because I mean, we have a list, but we're always open to adding books onto our list, because that's what we love. And so we'd love you to share with us books that you've read as well, books that you want to read. So yeah.
Beautiful. Awesome. Okay, with that, thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
Absolutely. Bye, guys.
Bye.